Hello and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. Today's video is the life and legacy of King Edward VII. The story begins with this woman here, who you may of course recognise as Queen Victoria, and who was of course Edward VII's mother. This is Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, and together they had 9 children, the firstborn of these being Edward VII, who would go on of course then to be king, as he was the oldest and heir to the throne. But it would be a while till he was crowned king. So, what happened in his early years? Prince Edward was born on the 9th of November in 1941, in the early years of Queen Victoria's reign, his mother. Here is a picture of the young prince as a child, and during his childhood he was quite the academic. He went to lots of schools and even went to universities, obviously, as he progressed through the education system. He didn't do too well at first in the younger years, but did eventually graduate university after the years of learning. Edward VII had a happy childhood and strong connections with his mother and 8 siblings. Now then, as he got a bit older, he wanted to join the army, but being heir to the throne, he was not allowed. The best he ever got was he served in the Grenadier Guards in 1861, only during that year for a short time. Edward married Alexandria of Denmark in 1863, and she would go on to be his wife for the rest of his reign. He never remarried or divorced. Edward VII with her had 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls, the eldest being George V, who would of course go on then to take the throne from him after Edward VII has died. During the 1870s, between 1875 and 1876, Edward, or Prince Edward, went on a tour of India, around the British-ruled colony. He had a good time over these years and remembered it fondly. During the 1880s, he focused more on himself, into his own interests such as electricity, which he was fascinated by. And a little fun fact here, did you know Edward VII had an affair with Winston Churchill's mother? Now then, as the end of the 1800s grew ever closer, Edward VII received the final parts of his training to take the throne and become the King of England, the Empire and the colonies. And he became king on the 22nd of January 1901, following the death of Queen Victoria. And his coronation was held on the 9th of August in 1902, after having been delayed from the summer of that year. The coronation was a big success and was a nice, luxurious event, but it wasn't just for the wealthier. He also gave out over 500,000 meals to the poor people around London and the south of England. Very nice. Now then, the first thing he did as monarch was to grant Australia Dominion status. This means rather than just being a colony, it would be a self-governing country, but still under the British Empire. Then, also that year, he released the 4 Merit Medal, crediting work of merit such as arts and sculptures. Also in 1902, 1 year after Queen Victoria's death, Empire Day was held, a tradition that would go on to be celebrated every year to celebrate the sort of power and might of the British Empire back in the day. In 1904, King Edward VII made a deal with the French to sort of, be friends and allies and settle their disputes over territories in northern Africa, helping to get Edward the title of Edward the Peacemaker. He also visited his cousin, the leader of Russia, in 1907, again to keep up good relations with Russia. In 1907, a short film was made about cutting a tunnel underneath the English Channel all the way to France as a mode of transportation between the two countries, a personal sort of dream of Edward VII that one day, of course, would become a reality. 1907 also saw New Zealand be granted the same Dominion status as Australia had received a few years earlier. And of course, in 1908, the first ever London Olympics was held in London and was a very popular event. And now, in 1910, the death of Edward VII was announced to the nation. Edward the Peacemaker had been a very, very popular During his reign, many new laws were introduced to help the poor and struggling in society, and he was known. So overall, he was extremely loved by the public, and writer J.B. Priestley even described him as the best and most popular king England has ever had. So there we go. Please do comment down below any extra Edward VII facts you have to share, and of course a big thank you for everyone for watching, and of course please do subscribe before you leave the video, as that is really appreciated. See you next time on Bits and Bobs.